Some houses are born bad. Their walls hold memories of events long past, secrets that linger even when everyone has moved on. The Whitmore family believed they had found sanctuary when they settled into an old farmhouse on the outskirts of a quiet town in 1971, a place that promised a new beginning far from the chaos of city life. Yet soon, the promise of peace was overshadowed by events that defied explanation. Their daughter, Emily, awoke one night to find her bedroom door open, though she was sure she had closed it moments before. In the dim light, she sensed the presence of someone, or something, standing just at the threshold, watching her silently before vanishing without a trace. As the nights passed, subtle disturbances began to multiply. Doors that were once secure would close on their own, and the silence of the home was interrupted by unexplained sounds echoing through empty rooms. The family's initial dismissals of these happenings, as tricks of an overactive imagination, slowly gave way to a growing unease. The house, steeped in a long history of unexplainable events, seemed to harbor a force that refused to be ignored. Neighbors spoke in hushed tones of past tenants who left abruptly, of unexplained happenings that left more questions than answers. The Whitmore family, in search of a quiet life, found themselves entangled in a mystery that reached back through generations. Each new day brought fresh signs that something was amiss. Shadows moved in ways that no natural light could account for, and the calm atmosphere of the farmhouse grew heavy with a quiet, unsettling energy. The questions began to mount. Was this all a product of deep-seated fears and overactive imaginations, or was there a presence, a force, that had always resided within those walls? As the experiences became too persistent to ignore, the family was forced to confront the possibility that the house itself might be influencing their lives. The events escalated, leaving them to wonder whether the true danger lay in the eerie happenings, or in the way these experiences began to affect their perceptions and relationships with one another. In the face of unexplained occurrences that defied conventional reasoning, the story of the Whitmore family becomes a question for us all. Were they haunted by figments of their own minds, or did the farmhouse possess a mysterious power that reached deep into the fabric of their existence? After that first night of uneasy silence, the Whitmore family began their new chapter in 1971. They left behind the clamor of city life for a remote farmhouse in a forgotten corner of the countryside, a place whose age was matched only by its reputation. Locals warned them in low, careful tones, that house does not welcome strangers. Yet hope carried them forward, even as small oddities began to emerge. In the first days, things were simple. The family settled in as best they could, but soon, small signs disrupted their routine. A door left ajar in the middle of the night, objects that mysteriously disappeared only to reappear in unexpected places, and an unshakable feeling that unseen eyes watched their every move. Neighbors' cautious glances and quiet remarks hinted at a past filled with unexplained losses, tenants who left in haste, never to speak of what they encountered. One evening, while the house slept under a heavy sky, a young child wandered down to the basement in search of an old toy. In that cool, shadowed space, the child encountered a figure unlike any other. A woman, or something resembling her, stood there. Her face was empty of the eyes that should have seen, and she spoke in a soft, deliberate tone. "I have been waiting." Startled, the child asked, "Who are you?" and received no answer. Only a slow retreat into darkness that left a lingering chill. The following night, the mother found herself roused by a gentle whisper. It called her name, repeating it as though it were a secret meant only for her ears. At first, she convinced herself it was the wind, but as nights passed, the voice grew bolder, and the phenomenon could no longer be dismissed as mere imagination. Day by day, the events gained momentum. Doors that once closed securely swung open without explanation. Items shifted from their places, as if rearranged by unseen hands. Quiet, anxious conversations began among the family members. "It feels as if the house is watching us," one child confided, barely audible. Another added, "It's as if something wants us to stay trapped." Their words carried the weight of a growing dread, an unspoken fear that the place itself harbored a presence far beyond their understanding. Each passing hour deepened the mystery. Questions began to multiply like shadows at dusk. Could these happenings be nothing more than a shared illusion? A trick of isolation and overactive minds? Or was there, hidden within the very walls of the farmhouse, a force that had followed them? A presence that clung to every crevice, every forgotten corner? As the days slipped into a tense countdown, events escalated with a quiet inevitability. The family found themselves caught in a web of unexplained activity that made every tick of the clock a reminder of an unknown threat lurking just out of sight. The farmhouse, with its long history of unexplained unalives and sudden departures, was slowly revealing its secrets. But each revelation only raised further questions, drawing them deeper into a mystery that refused to be unraveled. And so the stage was set. The Whitmore family, once hopeful for a fresh start, now stood on the brink of a revelation that would challenge every notion of safety and normalcy. As the unanswered questions multiplied, one truth became clear. Some mysteries demand more than quiet resignation. They demand a confrontation with the unknown. What was the true nature of the presence in that house? And would the family ever escape the grip of a home that seemed determined to keep its secrets hidden forever? The answers lay just beyond the next whisper, waiting for the moment when silence could no longer hold them back. Lily woke one morning with bruises on her arms, marks that no one could explain. In a quiet, trembling voice she said, "I felt a cold hand, like a whisper in the dark." Each bruise deepened the family's dread, a wordless warning that something was watching them. Every day brought new oddities. A cherished vase would shift its place, lights would flicker with an urgency that made time feel like it was counting down, and the steady hum of everyday life was replaced by small, unsettling occurrences. The house seemed to measure each moment, each tick of the clock a reminder that something was coming. John, once the strong anchor of the Whitmore family, began to change. His easy smile faded into quiet isolation, replaced by a mood that swung without warning. He muttered phrases that weren't his own and stared into empty corners as if he were listening to voices only he could hear. "I don't understand what's happening to me," he admitted one evening, his words laced with confusion and fear. The look in his eyes suggested a presence was taking control. Margaret, desperate to shield her children, found herself alone with growing questions. One night, as she lay in bed, a shadow appeared at the foot of her bed and spoke in a voice that chilled her. "You are not welcome." Stunned, she whispered, "Who are you?" The reply never came, leaving only a heavy silence that pushed her further into uncertainty. With every unanswered question, the house tightened its grip on their lives. In a bid for answers, the family began searching through old records and local tales. They learned the farmhouse once belonged to a reclusive woman named Agnes. Accused of practicing unusual rituals, Agnes left a trail of unalives and mysterious disappearances. Every family that had ever lived in that home met a tragic end or vanished without explanation. Whispers among the locals insisted that Agnes's presence never left, as if her essence still wandered those very halls. The disturbances escalated rapidly. Doors would slam shut without warning, cutting off any chance of escape during the quiet hours of the night. Furniture shifted as if purposefully rearranged by unseen forces. Mirrors cracked inexplicably, each fracture a silent testament to the chaos at hand. The children, gripped by a fear they could hardly contain, murmured to one another, "She's watching us." Margaret discovered claw-like marks on the walls, writings left by a force that seemed determined to claim every inch of their home. Then came the night that changed everything. In a state of deep trance, John began sleepwalking. With measured steps that echoed through the corridors, he drifted from room to room, whispering words not his own. In one harrowing moment, he lunged at Margaret in a trance, nearly harming her before snapping back to himself. When he awoke, his eyes were vacant and he insisted he remembered nothing, though the memory of that event burned in Margaret's mind. Each passing moment deepened the mystery. Was the presence that tormented them the restless spirit of Agnes, or was something else at work? A force that manipulated their thoughts and actions? Every unanswered question hung in the air, a countdown to a revelation that they were powerless to stop. The house held its secrets tightly, daring them to uncover what lay hidden behind its worn facade. Margaret clutched her children as she faced the relentless uncertainty, each quiet minute filled with the promise of another unexplained event. The family was trapped in a cycle where every whispered word and every unexplained movement drove them further from the life they once knew. With the relentless passing of time, one thing was clear. Soon, the house would force them to confront the truth, one that could change everything. Later that night, as darkness deepened around the old farmhouse, the unthinkable unfolded. Margaret was suddenly thrown across the room, her body pinned by an unseen force. She gasped, struggling to free herself, and cried out, "Somebody, please help me." Her plea was swallowed by the chaos as the children's terrified screams filled the air. Chairs and tables shifted violently, as if in response to a silent command. In the midst of the terror, John's face turned ashen. "We have to get out now," he insisted, his voice a mix of shock and determination. His words cut through the panic like a countdown, each second intensifying the urgency. For a moment, the room felt as though time itself was racing toward an unknown deadline. Desperate for assistance, they summoned Father Martin, a man whose faith had comforted many in troubled times. He arrived and observed the unfolding nightmare with a heavy heart. For an hour, he recited prayers, his voice steady even as the atmosphere grew more oppressive. But soon, his resolve faltered. "I cannot remain here," he admitted quietly. "There is a force in this house that I cannot face." With that, he left, his departure leaving behind more questions than solace. John's command for escape came as if he had been jolted from a dreadful trance. "We must leave now," he repeated, his eyes wide with the realization that the home was no longer safe. In a frantic rush, the family gathered what little they could carry. Each second felt like a final tick toward an inevitable doom. Every heartbeat a reminder that the unseen presence was closing in. They fled into the night, leaving behind not only their belongings, but also the home that had become a trap of unsolved mysteries. In the aftermath, the farmhouse stood empty for many years. Yet new residents, drawn by its age-old charm, soon reported similar unsettling experiences. Whispers in empty rooms, fleeting figures and reflections, and an overwhelming sense that something was watching from the shadows. The unanswered questions lingered like an unfinished sentence. Was the force that tormented them a restless presence from the past? Had the isolation and fear combined to create an illusion that haunted their every step? Or was there a power lurking behind those walls? A presence that thrived on the terror it instilled in its inhabitants? Even now, the mystery remains open. Would you have stayed in a home that seemed determined to hold on to its secrets? Or do you believe that some places, burdened with a heavy past and unexplained events, should be left alone? The night's horrors left a silence that spoke louder than any scream. In the aftermath of that final escape, the Whitmore family was scattered, their lives forever altered by what had transpired behind those closed doors. Margaret's desperate struggle, John's reluctant transformation, and the whispers of a presence that could not be ignored all merged into a mystery that defied easy answers. In the days that followed, neighbors recalled hushed conversations and fearful glances. Rumors swirled about a force that had once claimed the very essence of the home, a presence that seemed to feed on their deepest fears. Every unexplained detail, every fleeting shadow, served as a reminder that some secrets are meant to remain hidden, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Late one evening, as the town settled into an uneasy calm, an elderly resident murmured, "That house has a way of pulling you back into its dark past." Her words hung in the air like an unanswered question. Was the terror the Whitmores experienced a one-time curse, or was it a cycle of events that could happen again to anyone who dared to call that place home? A question now lingers, echoing in the minds of all who have heard the tale. What truly happened to the Whitmore family? Were they victims of forces beyond comprehension? Or did a twisted chain of events push them toward an unthinkable end? Each unanswered moment intensifies the mystery, a mystery that continues to challenge everything we believe about safety and home. Before you turn away, consider this. What do you think happened to the Whitmore family? Share your thoughts and theories. For in these unanswered questions lies the key to understanding the terror that gripped them. And stay with us, because our next investigation leads us to the Holloway Estate, a place where every corner holds a secret and every silence hides a truth waiting to be discovered. The next chapter is just beginning, and the countdown has already started. The night's horrors left a silence that spoke louder than any scream. In the aftermath of that final escape, the Whitmore family was scattered, their lives forever altered by what had transpired behind those closed doors. Margaret's desperate struggle, John's reluctant transformation, and the whispers of a presence that could not be ignored all merged into a mystery that defied easy answers. In the days that followed, neighbors recalled hushed conversations and fearful glances. Rumors swirled about a force that had once claimed the very essence of the home, a presence that seemed to feed on their deepest fears. Every unexplained detail, every fleeting shadow, served as a reminder that some secrets are meant to remain hidden, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Late one evening, as the town settled into an uneasy calm, an elderly resident murmured, "That house has a way of pulling you back into its dark past." Her words hung in the air like an unanswered question. Was the terror the Whitmores experienced a one-time curse, or was it a cycle of events that could happen again to anyone who dared to call that place home? A question now lingers, echoing in the minds of all who have heard the tale. What truly happened to the Whitmore family? Were they victims of forces beyond comprehension, or did a twisted chain of events push them toward an unthinkable end? Each unanswered moment intensifies the mystery, a mystery that continues to challenge everything we believe about safety and home. Before you turn away, consider this. What do you think happened to the Whitmore family? Share your thoughts and theories, for in these unanswered questions lies the key to understanding the terror that gripped them. Before you step back into your everyday life, remember, this story is far from over. If the mystery of the Whitmore family sent chills down your spine, subscribe to our channel and join a community of truth seekers. Like this video if you believe some questions should never go unanswered, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think really happened in that house? Stay tuned, because our next investigation takes us to the Holloway Estate, where another chapter of hidden truths and unexplained events awaits. Your support helps us uncover these stories, so hit that subscribe button, like, and share. The countdown has begun, and the next mystery is just around the corner.